We're going to solve inequalities and graph the solutions. This is part 1. You should already know how to solve equations first before reviewing this video, because we're going to skip over the details of solving and concentrate mostly on the graphing aspect, with special attention to equations like inequalities that look like this. Okay, the first one we have is x plus 7 is less than 20. So we're going to solve for x first and subtract 7 from both sides. And then we're going to get x. This cancels here. So x is less than 13. And I'm going to graph. And the way I'm going to graph on here is I'm going to pick a 0. And then I'm going to not be perfect on the graph. I'm just going to put 13 somewhere down here. Now, the main thing on the graphing, since it doesn't have an equal here, it doesn't have an equal, so we're using an open circle because it can't equal 13. So I put an open circle here. Now, this means all numbers smaller or less than 13. So we're going to shade to the left because we know 0 is smaller than 13, 12 is smaller than 13, and so forth. And we keep shading and draw an arrow to signify all numbers smaller than 13 but not equal. So that means we draw the open circle here because 12.999999 repeating is very close to 13 without hitting it. So we get as close as we can to 13 without going over. Same thing for this one. We're going to add 9 to both sides. So basically we get x is less than or equal to 19. I'm going to draw my little line here. I'm going to put a 0, and we're graphing in one dimension, 19 somewhere down here. Now in this case, it can equal 19, so we do a circle and we color it in because it can equal it. Now it means all numbers less than or equal to. So 0 is less than 19, 18, -1, all to negative infinity is less than 19. Okay, now this is a special case you need to pay attention to. When you multiply or divide by negative, you have to flip this sign. So what we're going to do is divide both sides by -13. And this will cancel, and you're going to write b, and you're going to flip this sign. So it's going to be less than or equal to -3. Okay, so that's the standard rule for that. If you divide or multiply by -19, you have to flip the sign. Now again, I'm going to draw the line. I'm going to place the 0 here and -3 on the other side where it belongs. I'm going to draw an open circle and decide if I can close it up. Yes, I can, because there's the equal part. And it means all numbers smaller than or equal to -3. So numbers smaller than -3. 0 is bigger than -3, so we can't include it. So we're still going to shade towards the left and continue on and on. Okay, the next one is -15 is greater than v over 11. I tend to say -15 is bigger than v over 11. I'm going to multiply both sides by 11 because we have to solve first. So I'll multiply this side by 11 over 1 and this side by 11 over, you don't have to put the 1 here. The 11s will cancel, so you get v here, and 11 times -15 is -165. Now let's read what this says. It says -165 is greater than v, but let's read it backwards. It says from the right, v is smaller than -165. So I'm going to rewrite this. V, I'm going to read it backwards. And the smaller part is here, The smaller side, so when it is less than negative 165. I just rearranged it. So I'm going to put my 0 here, negative 165 here. I'm going to leave an open circle. I can't close it in because it's doesn't say equal, it's just close to it. So all numbers smaller than a negative 165, and that's how you would graph that. Same thing here. I'm going to multiply both sides by 17. It's the same kind of problem here. And in this case, I'm just going to do it 17 and distribute. I'm going to multiply negative 7 by 17, and I'm going to distribute this way. And what I'm going to get for this is negative 119 is greater than or equal to n, because if these would cancel here when you multiply. I'm going to rewrite this as n is less than or equal to negative 119. Seems like we had a lot of problems where they're all less than, huh? I'm going to put my 0 somewhere, and negative 19 goes somewhere on this side of 0. It can equal it, so I'm going to shade in, put a big circle there and shade it in. And it's all numbers smaller, so I'm going to shade to the left, and that's would be your graph. Okay, this is the same thing. Multiply both sides by 16 and distribute. So we're going to get negative 160 is less than or equal to n. I'm going to rewrite this because if I read this from right to left, so I'm reading this way, n is bigger than or equal to negative 160. So I'm just going to rewrite it. I'm going to draw my graph. I'm going to put my 0 somewhere, my negative 160 somewhere. Can it equal it? Yes. So I'm going to open circle and close it up. Now this says bigger than or equal to or greater than. So I'm shading to the right. And it's all numbers. That goes on to infinity, all the way to infinity. This way is negative infinity. Shade all the way to infinity, all numbers bigger than negative 60. Okay, here we have a little bit of a solving. We're going to add 16 to both sides. And when we add 16 to both sides, we're going to get negative 15 is less than x, or the same thing as x is bigger than negative 15 or greater than negative 15. Put my 0 somewhere and my negative 15 somewhere. I'm going to put an open circle on negative 15 and not color it in because there's no equal. And this is greater than. So all numbers bigger than negative 15, greater than negative 15, all the way to infinity. This is negative infinity. All right. Now, this one has this double negative, so I'm just going to rewrite it as 1 is less than or equal to x plus 18. I'm going to subtract 18 from both sides. And I get negative 17 is smaller than or equal to x, or equivalently, sorry about that, x is bigger than or equal to negative 17. I'm going to write my 0, my negative 17 on the proper side of the 0, put an open circle. Can I shade in the circle? Yes, because it says equals. And since it shows greater than, I'm shading to the right to infinity. Sorry, my infinities. That's infinity. Okay. Shade to the right. All numbers bigger. On this one, I'm going to subtract 11 from both sides. So I get negative 18 is greater than r. Or we could say r is smaller than negative 18. I'm going to draw the line. Put my 0, negative 18. on the appropriate side. Open circle. I'm not going to shade it in. It can't equal it. And it's all numbers smaller than negative 18, all the way to negative infinity. Negative infinity to the right, or to the left, infinity to the right. And here we have the double negative again. Two negatives make a positive. I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. So we're going to get that canceling, and we get 6 is bigger than n, or 6 is greater than n, which is the same as saying n is less than 6. I'm reading it when I read it the other way. I put my 0 here, say, put my 6 here, open circle, can't color it in, and shade towards negative infinity. So this is negative infinity. Okay, I will do part 2, which is basically similar to part 1 if you need more practice in the next video.